It's October 13th, 2021. This is the weekly election forum. And this evening, we're going to be talking about Cavendish. I will be showing a short video, a 1-minute video, just so that we're all situated in the right location. And then after that, we're going to have a little PowerPoint that I prepared, after which we'll get some commentary from our special guests, Mayor Alan D'Souza. Thank you very much for coming, Mayor of Saint Laurent. Rick Lechner, our local traffic expert, but really the traffic expert for the entire island of Montreal, and Mayor Mitchell Brownstein. So without further ado, I am going to play the short video, and then we will be off. Hang on a second. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to go to my video. 1 second.
Go.
Cavendish Boulevard in Côte-Saint-Luc. And when the road is finally extended, what you're going to see is the rapid transit down the middle, the bike paths, the pedestrian path, as well as the vehicular traffic in both directions, of course, going towards Saint Laurent. But on the way, we'll have to veer off towards Royal Mount, because as you know, there's the Hippodrome, Jean Talon, Carré, Ferrier, and Royal Mount. And the Royal Mount will be basically the carrefour, le carrefour de Royal Mount, so that you can go off in different directions. And also from this point to the metro, to the Namur and to the De La Savane metro, will be under 5 minutes. By any mode of transit, be it rapid transit, tramway, be it car, be it bicycle, it'll be under 5 minutes to the metro, and that's going to encourage people to use rapid transit.
Okay, we got it.
So
No, okay.
thank you very much. I apologize for that confusion. And I hope that you got the gist of it, which is that we're going to be able to get to Décarie within 5 minutes once we do the Cavendish extension. Now I'm going to show you a short PowerPoint. I hope it's short till we get to the discussion. I'm going to share my screen again, if you just bear with me. And here we go. I'm going to share it again. Here we go. So, hang on a second. Give me 1 second. So, okay. So this is a PowerPoint presentation. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So this is a PowerPoint presentation, which I prepared specially for this weekly electoral forum for October 13th. I'm going to be talking very briefly about how we got to where we are, and talking about the transit solutions for Côte-Saint-Luc and the NDLS, Namur de la Savane Cavendish. So we all know where we are. You see the screen, you all can see the screen, the Google map?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so my cursor here is at the Cavendish, where I was standing at actually on the 8th floor of a condo building. And this is the end of Cavendish, where we would be taking, or basically putting in a trench. Eventually, this is what's being proposed, to go to the Royal Mount Exchange, which is here in the middle, and then have that connect up to Royal Mount, and at the same time connect to Dalton and Darnley and Cavendish, which is on the other side. For those of you who are not familiar, the IKEA is up here, and the Côte-Saint-Luc City Hall is down here. So basically what we're looking at, why are the 4 mayors of the 4 joining cities and boroughs involved in this, is that we are in the sector called Namur de la Savane. You have Saint-Laurent, TMR, Côte-des-Neiges, and of course, Côte-Saint-Luc. And I don't have to tell you all because you're very familiar with this. There are literally going to be tens of thousands of new residents soon living along the Décarie corridor, starting in Midtown and Saint-Laurent. That project looks like it's going full blast. Royalmount, which eventually will take off once again. The Triangle, which is practically fully built up. Westbury, which also has thousands of units. Décarie Square, which wants to build towers. And the Hippodrome, which is another 15,000 units. As also, I don't have to tell you that the Décarie Exchange today is very, very, very busy, 360,000 cars a day. And the Vizina exchange, the Jean Talon Vizina, is just as bad. I wanted to show you this image because I find it really almost sort of dramatic. It just looks like what I always say, which is that Côte-Saint-Luc is a city in a rail yard. Sorry, I have somebody call. Yes, Ramesh, what is the problem?
I've been trying to get onto the meeting.
Oh, you're trying to get onto the meeting? Okay, it's Dita Burkut.
No, you have to admit them. You might have to admit people.
I don't have to admit anyone.
No? Okay,
No, it's automatic.
good.
I apologize. Anyway, so you can see here that Côte-Saint-Luc is really a city in a rail yard. I mean, this could not be a more telling description of what's going on. And then, of course, just to fast forward a little bit, we commissioned McGill students to present to us their vision of the new Cavendish. And this is one, option that they presented. This was commissioned by Saint-Laurent and Côte-Saint-Luc. And they came up with some very interesting options. And the mayors over the past 2 years have been showing these options to the city of Montreal. And we think that we have really got their attention at this point, because now every time they talk about the new Cavendish, they talk about the transit-oriented Cavendish. They use this picture, and they're very, very connected to our vision of what Cavendish should look like. So talking about that, the city of Montreal deposited with the BAP, which is the Bureau d'Audience Publique, the request to find out if in fact the Cavendish is subject to the Bureau d'Audience Publique. What does that mean? It means that they have to submit it for environmental assessment by the Office of the Environmental Bureau. And as you can see, because it's 1.25 kilometers from point to point, that is one of the criteria that means that it has to be subjected to the Bureau d'Audience Publique. And why do I raise this? Because that in itself is a next step that has to be taken, and which the City of Montreal has undertaken to do. The old administration, I don't know if they're going to be, whoever's going to be the mayor, should commit to this as well, to advance it to the BAP by April 2022. So here you have me and Mayor Mitchell-Brownstein making a presentation to the many, many commissions and hearings on the Royalmount project, on the Hippodrome project, at the ARTM, and always doing it in collaboration with Saint-Laurent. And that's why I have invited the mayor of Saint-Laurent. And some of our recommendations were obviously to create, to extend the Orange Line to the what's it called, to the metro in escaped me, to Alan, help me out here.
Bois-Franc Metro Station.
Bois-Franc Metro Station, okay. And also to introduce a tramway along the Cavendish extension that runs from Cavendish Mall to Namur de la Savane in less than 5 minutes. That's my motto. We've got to get there in less than 5 minutes. To connect the Cavendish tramway to the Hippodrome, and also to extend the tramway going north to the Côte-de-Liesse Industrial Park and south to Saint-Jacques. So along the way, and this is Mayor Brownstein's project that he really wants to see happening, We want 2 train stations, one at the Carey Square and one at the Côte Saint-Luc Shopping Center. And here is just a vision of what a train station could look like. Now I'm talking about the Saint Jerome line, not not Cavendish, but along the Saint Jerome line that runs from the Saint Jerome all the way through the Marché Central, through Jean Talon, and then comes down behind the Carey Square. So eventually we would like to see some train stations there along the way. And we've been talking to the ARTM and also to the ARTM, who manages these lines. Here is a vision for an underpass under the Plan Ranald. This would be to increase pedestrian traffic, to make it easier and not to force people to go under the Carey underpass, which is difficult to negotiate, and to have a shorter access to the metro. And here are the 4 mayors, replaced in this one by Aref Salem, because Alan was away. But they're making a united presentation on their vision for Cavendish. So I think we've come a long way. And that brings me to the September 15th declaration or announcement, public announcement by the City of Montreal that yes, we are going to the BAP by the spring of 2022. And we know that Mr. Coderre has made a similar promise that he's going to do it cheaper, lighter, faster. And as long as Alan is there, I'm sure it's going to happen one way or the other. So now I'm showing you another view of the extension. So this is Cavendish coming from Côte Saint-Luc and working its way across to the Royal Mount. And that's just one section. And the other section would come down towards the towards Saint Laurent. Now, yes, Rick, you want to say something? Because I don't see you. Hang on.
I'm here. I'm waiting for you to finish.
Okay, I'm almost done. So this is a trench. I mean, it's not as elegant and as green and as beautiful as the City of Montreal envisages it. And it's definitely not as wide because you only have 2 lanes going in either direction. You don't have all the fancy stuff that I'm going to show you in a minute. But obviously there's going to have to be bridge sort of overpasses for the tracks in the yards. But that's just for the yards. That's inside the yards. I wanted to mention something else. And that's the Green Corridor. Hydro-Québec has a multi-million-dollar project to connect the Sarregay station to the station in LaSalle, which is called Aqueduc. And this multi-million-dollar project is also there's also attached to it something called the Green Corridor, because it's a combined effort of Hydro-Québec and the City of Montreal to actually run a green corridor under the hydro tension wires. It started in Saint Laurent with the initiation of the borough of Saint Laurent, and they intend to continue it. But I wanted to show you where it goes right through Côte Saint-Luc, and this yellow spot here is the Côte Saint-Luc Shopping Center. Sorry, I can't see what's going on the screen on the Zoom, so if you need to interrupt me, please feel free.
It's a 27-kilometer corridor of bike path too.
Right. Okay. So we're hoping that that's going to be built at the same time, but the part that enters into Côte Saint-Luc, it enters exactly at the Cavendish extension. So it's part of the Cavendish extension, basically, because this part here, where it enters into Côte Saint-Luc at the end of Cavendish, or at the beginning of Cavendish, which way you want to see it, is part of the Green Corridor. So that's definitely a related project. And this is the vision, hang on. This is the vision that the City of Montreal has shown us so far as to what it could possibly look like. Now, I know we're not going for a promenade in the rail yards, but their vision is that it's going to be greener and more ecological than just an ordinary trench, and certainly much nicer than the Décarie Expressway. And finally, again, this is their vision of the verdissement. When you talk about, you know, the greening of the Cavendish extension, this is their vision. And oh, I went too far. And now this is sort of these are lines that I just drew. I don't have their route. Unfortunately, we've asked and asked and asked. They haven't really shared it with us. But ultimately, what it's going to be, I believe, is a exchange, an interchange, if you want, at the end of Royal Mount. And so you're coming up Cavendish, there's the interchange here, and you're going to have one route going towards the Hippodrome and another going towards Royal Mount, and then a third one going up Dalton, Darnley, over to Cavendish and Saint Laurent. So I am pretty much finished at this point. I do have more slides, but I'm going to wait for questions. Shall I stop sharing or just reduce my screen? I don't know.
You can stop sharing so we
Okay.
see each other.
Okay, all right,
Unless
so
there's
there we
something you
go.
wanna
I'll stop
show.
sharing for now. So I invite now, I apologize for the beginning. I really messed it up, but I think I made up
We
for
got
it.
it. We all got it.
Okay, so if Alan D'Souza or Rick Lichtner want to start the ball, you can come in and comment. I would really appreciate that.
Well, I can just jump in, and Rick, feel free to compliment but I think the vision that we share is a common one. It's one that we've worked very closely in Saint Laurent with Mayor Brownstein and with Councillor Burku, but also with the mayors of the other communities, whether it be Côte-des-Neiges or Tannemont Royal, where we share a lot of common ground with with the city of Montreal, Center City, is the vision that it must, and we should be aligning it with the green corridor that Dita presented, but also in terms of what the actual plan should be. It's just not a question of a route. It's something that should provide for all types of active and mass transit as well as cars. And so they will be in the presentation that you'll likely see an opportunity for pedestrians. The City of Montreal has identified Cavendish at my insistence in terms of including a bike laneway, or REV, which would be a Réseau Express Vélo. So there would be a bike link between the two communities. There would also be a mass transit link, and this was something that we presented together in January of 2019, whereby given the volume of people who need to get by in NDG, Côte Saint-Luc, Hampstead, and Montreal West, going from south to north, but also for all the workers who would be coming into Saint Laurent, into our industrial parks, that a form of mass transit, my suggestion was a tramway, be already integrated into this plan. The timing of this mass transit could be to come down the road, but a bit like the Champlain Bridge, if you leave the space in there, then when the time is ready, like the government is, the CDPQ is doing right now, the Champlain Bridge, they're inserting the REM in there. Well, the idea was, why can't this also work for Cavendish? And lastly, but not least, we envision 2 lanes for cars, such that at least there'd be adequate car traffic. So for everyone who's there, pedestrians, cyclists, cars, and mass transit users, there's a piece for everyone. And the last piece is the whole question of greening and biodiversity, that if it's part of this green corridor that Dita alluded to earlier, well, we also want to make sure that the landscaping, the trees and stuff are also an integral part of this whole experience. It's not what we call a walk in the train yards, but at the same time, we want to make it as nice as possible, offering and catering to the needs of all types of people who need mobility within the 5-minute time frame. So that's our vision of things. And I think to a large part, there's lots that's shared with the City of Montreal. Now we've got to make sure that those plans are finalized, and the next administration can take it to BAP as quickly as possible.
Okay, I'd like to make a few
Before
comments.
you go, Rick, though, because I know you're the non-politician and you'll give us the whole analysis. But on the political side, I just first of all want to thank Councillor Burku and Mayor D'Souza. Alan and Dita have been really a great team throughout this, not only with this administration, the last administration, dealing with many things. And we have accomplished a lot. I mean, first of all, was it going to be an overpass or an underpass? We had to negotiate with CP Rail until they agreed to a trench. Montreal came on board with that. Then, like Dita explained, all those presentations, whether it was Royal Mount or the Hippodrome or the ARTM, each place there was something else. You know, we have a vision now, and we sort of have this verbal buy-in from both administrations and the ARTM. They like the idea of, like Dita said, and we already have those tracks that are going right by our city, and we can't get on or off the train. And the ARTM was very impressed with the idea. If you're going to have any development of any type at the Côte Saint-Luc Shopping Center or DeCarry Square, there should be a train station so people could get on and off, and then they could get on to their bicycle at Côte Saint-Luc Shopping Center, either from Parkhaven or from the other side, because that's where the corridor vert, the 27-kilometer corridor vert, will be connecting to through our city. And we know that if we don't have these options of getting on a train, getting on a tramway or a fast bus on Cavendish, if people don't have other ways to use their bikes safely, yes, we need to do it for cars, but we also need all these options. Otherwise, all that's being built, and it's clear even from what Coderre said on the radio today, and everybody agrees, we see it all. Dita explained it. There's too much, everything's being built now. And if you're going to build the Hippodrome, they can't do it without Cavendish. They can't do it, and they have till 2023 to start. Otherwise, they have to give back the land. So they're sort of in some type of a deadline, and we all know DeCarry's a total mess. I know Rick's been working really hard to make Vizina a little bit better in the short term, and we've been trying. We have our ideas for that and trying to get people not to be able to park on Vizina so that, you know, we'd at least have more ways to get towards DeCarry, but you're still stuck on DeCarry. So we need Cavendish. We also, in my opinion, need those train stations. I believe a lot of people will use them. I'm really looking forward to when that 27-kilometer, which you can get on at Montreal West, you can get off at Saint Jerome. I mean, I really think a lot of people are going to be using that corridor vert and getting on the train or using that bike path. We need these things. Otherwise, we're going to be in this traffic jam that's only going to get worse. So I want to thank Dita and Alan for all the work you've done. And the other mayors have been very cooperative. This Namur de la Savane unity group with all
Working
the mayors
group, yeah.
didn't happen by
Right.
itself. So kudos.
Thank
to
you very much, Mitchell. Thank you. And I'm just, for those who have their hands up, I do appreciate that you do have your hands up. I see your hands up. I'm going to let Rick say a few words, and after that, we'll take questions. Okay? Thank you very much. So go ahead, Rick.
Thanks, Dita. Thank everyone who's been involved in this. I know it's, look, we've been talking about this long before I had gray hair, which is a long, long time ago. And without exaggeration, I would say 4 to 5 decades. My concern is that no matter what's planned, what's envisaged, it's going to take time. And in the meantime, on a daily basis, people are hostages within Côte Saint-Luc, within Hampstead. And it's great at election time to have all these ideas. Yes, there has been progress, but we need an immediate plan B. We can't wait for all of these things to happen. You're talking years from now. By the time the BAP hearings are finished, by the time the plans are completed, by the time the construction starts, by the time the construction ends, I estimate easily 5 years. In the meantime, there is this unbelievable development in the sector. All of the things that Dita showed us, including the apartment buildings that I see on the northwest corner of DeCarry Circle in Allentown, better known as Ville Saint-Laurent. We're just adding thousands and thousands and thousands of people without any overall plan.
Right.
There has been such an irresponsible approach to this thing. It's not to be believed. We have problems getting emergency vehicles through. So we need, one of the big bottlenecks is at the corner of Jean Talon and DeCarry. Yes, we've got problems on Vezina, Plamondon, Van Horn, but it all stems from what's going on in part on the northbound to carry service road to Johnson. So the city needs to come up with some kind of configuration. I have some ideas, but they need to try things. We need to have things done on a trial basis to see what may work. The
Right.
other political
So
reality.
Rick.
Just let me finish, Nita. Let me finish, please.
We've supported you 100% on
He's
that.
on a roll.
other-
Let's hear.
The other political reality is that the problems, as I have said, are within Côte St. Luc and Hampstead, and the solution lies within the city of Montreal. So we need everybody to sincerely come together soon and have some, shall we say, interim solutions to try to get through this bottleneck. Otherwise, we're destined to sit in traffic and in growing traffic for the next many, many years. So that's where the focus should be, in a parallel basis with the development and the planning of Cavendish. We need to have short to midterm solutions to the current problems.
Right. Well, I agree with that. I agree with that very much. And you know that we've supported you on your petition that you presented to the Borough of Côte-des-Neiges-NDG, and also your letter that you sent to the Mayor of Montreal, to the office of the Mayor of Montreal, providing solutions at that intersection. So
We're not making any progress yet, so we need
Well,
to keep the
because-
pressure up.
because Marvin has retired, so Marvin, was carrying the ball a little bit, but we definitely need the pressure, and we're going to have to work with the new administration.
Correct.
That's going to be in Côte-des-Neiges-NDG, and whoever that's going to be at the city level, because there's a lot of things we can do at the micro level that could really, really make a difference. And Rick has put that into a petition that I helped him with. Obviously, we think alike, and Mitch got the negotiation going with the DeCarry Square, and we have an approval from DeCarry Square that residents on Vizina can park in their lot. But all we
Great.
need is now the city of Montreal, the Borough of Côte-des-Neiges-NDG, to put up signage to stop the parking during the day when the traffic needs to flow. So I see a bunch of hands. I don't know if they're all up. I would appreciate, however, if you would turn on your video if you're going to ask a question. We only see one, person's hand up with their name. You want to be unmuted to ask the question? Or you want to put it in the chat? I don't know. I see. Okay, so we can unmute Eric, but I really would appreciate if you would let your video play, because we don't know who you are, and it's a little difficult.
Hi, hi Dita. Hi guys. Sorry, I'm just not in front of my machine right now. My PC. I'm actually on a wireless headset, which is why I can't put my video on. It won't really give you much. It'll give you the ceiling of something.
Okay, but can you tell us who you are? Because this
sure.
is like yes. Go ahead.
Sure. Hi, my name is Eric. I live on Merton. I'm in Sector 3. We've met a couple of times.
Okay.
So
you're
this...
so you're Audrey's husband, in other words.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm Audrey's husband.
That's all you had to say. It's fine.
Well, I don't want to come through as I'm on this because I'm Audrey's husband. I'm come through because I'm very interested in this project, and have a lot of concerns. And I don't want this to become a council meeting, because that's kind of where it sounds like it is. But my questions come up more in terms of, I've been in Côte St. Luc for about 12 years. We've heard about the Cavendish project, like Rick said, forever, basically, long before I even moved to Côte St. Luc. All the stuff that you and Mitch have been working on, and Alan and everybody else over the last multiple years, decades even at some times, when does this come up to the residents? When does this come up to us? When do we start giving council feedback? I won't say you guys specifically, but just in general, council feedback as to how we, the residents, want to see this move forward. I have a lot of concerns. Like, my area has tremendous amounts of traffic in a residential area for people who are trying to avoid Cavendish, people who are trying to avoid feeding, people trying to cut corners. I can sit out on my front porch and just watch cars like whiz by, and I can count off right off the bat which ones are circumventing traffic. And now when I'm looking at proposed ideas of extending Cavendish, putting in basically more cars. Yes, I understand there'll be public transit. I understand there'll be bike lanes, and I'm a huge biker, and I love the idea of bike paths.
Right.
But at the end of the day, an extension of roads means more cars,
Right,
not just for the residents, but for people who are using those roads to circumvent
I
the
agree
carry,
with you.
to circumvent the metropolitan and stuff like that. And Cavendish already is an expressway for all intents and purposes. For the very small amount that it is, people drive down there at insane speeds.
I agree. We agree,
Increasing
and we're lowering the
traffic.
speed. Our intention is to lower the speed, especially due to COVID. There's been a tremendous increase in speed on Cavendish over the past year and a half. But I hear
But-
you, and I am more than prepared, because at this point, what I'm trying to say is this. We have been trying to negotiate with the powers that be at the city of Montreal, with those who are in control now, in the administration of the city of Montreal. But all the presentations, all the scenarios, and all the vision that we had were made public. It's on our website, and it's open for, basically for consultation. Since 2019, went to the hearings on the Hippodrome, we went to the hearings on the Royal Mount, we went to the hearings at the ERTM. Everything was on our website. Everything is all explained, and I can send you the link and you can see all the presentations and everything. Did we have a public consultation meeting on it yet? We had council meetings where the mayor reported at every step of the way. Someone is making a lot of noise in the background. I think it's you, Eric, but we had at every step of the way, the mayor presented over and over our progress, and we posted on our website, and I can give you, it's cotesaintluc.org, engage every single document, every single plan, every single proposal. And you're right, once it starts moving forward, we're going to have to see how it's going to affect the corridor and what impact it's going to have on the corridor. But we can't stop Cavendish. We have to have it done in a coherent and respectful fashion. So it's all there, and I'll send you the link and I'll post it at the end of the meeting if you like, but you can see every step of the way. So that's my answer to you there. Now, if I can go on, there in the chat, I see a question. I think it's, hang on, let me just see. Who's this question from?
I think it might be
Oh,
me.
it's from Louis. Okay, Louis, you're on. Okay, so do you want to just summarize your question? I see, go ahead.
Yeah, the extension part,
Can you talk a little louder?
I can try.
Okay,
The extension, I think you said it's 2 lanes. It's going to be 2 lanes wide.
okay, well,
Decision?
okay, so the issues that we've had so far with regard to configuration, and I can say this here because it is a subject that's going to have to be discussed in the new mandate, is for months, literally months, ever since the month of April or May, the mayors were in discussion with the city of Montreal, like I'm talking about the 3 mayors, and we're in this TMR, Côte-Saint-Luc, Montreal, and Saint Laurent. We're in discussion with the city of Montreal, and we couldn't quite agree. We didn't have a consensus. We couldn't quite agree on the configuration. If you're asking me what is our vision for that configuration, I'm prepared to show it now. If you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen. Eric, do you want to lower your hand so we don't, unless you have another question? So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to bring you back to the PowerPoint, wherever it may be. Just give me 1 second. I believe it's here. Hang on. Okay. Nope. Sorry. Sorry, that's not good. I'm going to open the PowerPoint again. Okay, there it is. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you what we consider to be a reasonable configuration. Okay, so this is the one scenario, which we call proposed Côte-Saint-Luc, and I would say Saint Laurent TMR, scenario 1, Cavendish extension. Can everyone see the screen? Yeah? Okay. I'm not hearing any response, but I presume everyone can see the screen.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So it's a 50-meter wide trench. It's 50 meters. And you see here, you've got piste cyclable, which is a bicycle path. You've got green. You have a tramway or rapid bus. You have 2 lanes going north in this case, or south. I mean, doesn't, 2 lanes going south because the north is that way. Then you have a median, a quite wide median in the middle of about 5 meters, 2 lanes going north, and a tramway, and then a bicycle path and a sidewalk. We thought that this is probably the most optimum solution. Then there is another one which looks like this, which is the 2 lanes on each side, and then the tramway running up and down the middle, the tramway or the rapid bus running up and down the middle, again in the same 50-meter in the same span. And then the third solution, this is proposed scenario 3, would be the sidewalk, the bicycle path, the green setback, the tramway again, and the green band, and then the cars really being sort of like on fleet with 2 lanes going in opposite directions, but in the same roadbed. This is something that was proposed by Côte Saint-Luc, Saint-Laurent. Can I stop sharing? Yeah. So this is something that was proposed by Côte Saint-Luc, Saint-Laurent, and TMR. Was not accepted by the plant administration. However, that I think it reflects well what we call the optimum solutions. And depending on who comes in, whether it's Plant or Coder, then this is going to be our starting point. When we go to the BAP, this is what we're going to present in terms of proposal. So we're quite advanced when it comes to that because we had long discussions. Maybe Alan wants to elaborate on that point.
Can you tell us what the objections were to that? They look like great configurations.
Okay, I don't know who just spoke. Can you identify yourself? Oh, it's Louis. Yeah. Yeah, they do look like great. Well, the objections were that we were dealing with an administration that is less car oriented, more bicycle oriented, shall we say? And the bikes and sidewalks were much wider and the car lanes were more narrow. So that's about it, but it's the same 50-meter span.
It's going to be a big debate, but there's 4 different, we look at it and we proposed it this way too. Royal Mount has their needs, Saint Laurent has their needs, Côte Saint-Luc has their needs. So it can be different depending on the needs of the city. I mean, Saint Laurent, I should say TMR and Royal Mount need trucks, right? They need trucks. Côte Saint-Lucas don't want a lot of trucks on Cavendish. So all these things have to be figured out so that it's built in the proper way. But going back to the last question, I just wanted to say, we need to see what the plans are approved or sent to the BAP. And then we need to consult with our population in order to get their buy-in, because we do control our land, right? We don't control what's outside of Côte Saint-Luc, but we do have 100% control over our part of Cavendish. If we feel the speed is too fast, we can narrow the lanes, we can lower the speed, we can do what we need to do on our part of Cavendish.
I can jump in here, Dita, if you'd let me.
Please go ahead. Take over.
Louis, I guess let me say that one, we were operating with that as being the most optimal, but in my mind, and I think in Mitch's and Dita's minds as well, this has to be based on the existing data and projected data. So we need to know exactly what is the volume, what are the peak periods, and what is the capacity of the roadbed. There's some studies that were done, but none that we've seen actually, but that will have to be done before it goes to BAP. Second point, so if it's not data driven, then we will over dimension or under dimension, and it'll be a problem. Our second point I would make is that we would think that 2 lanes are a minimum, because if we do have, in my mind, and I use this example, a 1-lane road and the truck breaks down, well, there goes a huge bottleneck all the way down to Saint Jacques. And so we wouldn't want to have one lane and then a truck breakdown or in a snowstorm, something happen, which would cause terrible bottlenecks. So our thought was the minimum amount of space for cars should be at least 2, but if that should change, it should be based on data. And the third thing is that we don't want this to be a huge, another channel of cars upon cars, as Eric mentioned. The idea and the suggestion of a tramway is to see what we can do to make people's vehicular habits change, such that if they are offered active transit, if they are offered rapid mass transit, for example, to get to Jean Talon, then they would avail themselves of that. It would mean we're able to carry people quicker, faster, within what they feel they need, 5 minutes or less. At the same time, it would then minimize the car traffic that would bother people like Eric, who raised that issue. So those are 3 points I would make, and I'll stop there.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alan. I appreciate that. Is there anyone else who wants to comment on this proposal?
Yeah, can I just add to that, Dita?
Yeah. Louis, go ahead.
The tram, is that a rail tram or is that just?
So there's different options. One of the things that was recommended by the Ouroboro group, I have this on my desk all the time. They know, my colleagues know. So the Ouroboro group suggested what's called a trackless tram. Okay, we got to the technology is improving all the time. And this is kind of like a trackless tram that is developed in China. And we're looking towards, whatever technologies are going to be available, but we're not going to get stuck, with the REM, definitely not. And it's not going to be a metro. So we'll start with a rapid bus and slowly work our way towards some kind of tram that's going to move people quicker, lighter, faster. That's the objection. That's the object of the exercise. And also to get to Décarie and to get to the metro in under 5 minutes. I don't know, but most of you who've taken the bus to the metro know that if you take Fleet or if you take Monkland to get to the either the Plamondon metro or to get to the Villa Maria metro, it could be 35 minutes from Cavendish. And that doesn't even make sense when the metro is literally it's like 500, it's under a kilometer away. From the city hall to the metro is under 5 minutes, no matter which mode of transport you use, whether it's bike, car, or tram or rapid transit. So
one last one.
Yeah.
So this tram sounds like a great opportunity for people who want to get to the metro and get to work. But will there be any opportunity for parking?
Well, if we start, for example, the Cavendish, if it's at Cavendish Mall or at City Hall, I mean, clearly there's parking there, right? I mean, it's not huge amount of parking because the Cavendish Mall is going to get redeveloped. That's the next Zoom. If you want to come, we're going to talk about the redevelopment of Cavendish Mall, or the potential redevelopment of Cavendish Mall, the potential redevelopment of the Côte Saint-Luc Shopping Center, depending on where the train stations are going to be. All this is in the works right now and was mentioned all the way along for those residents who were following, and all the presentations that we made to the various commissions and hearings over the past 3 years, before COVID, during COVID, and since COVID. I mean, we've been working nonstop on this.
But Louis raises a very good point. There has to be parking, either at the two malls when they're redeveloped, or maybe as they build it into the CP rail yards, we'll negotiate with them, but there has to be parking if we want people to use it, for sure.
Thanks.
So do we have any other questions? Rick, do you want to comment about anything that you've heard so far?
I think, again, everybody's talking about.
We need a short-term
Yeah,
solution.
I just want to reiterate that because we've got 3 elected officials, and hopefully you will remain as elected officials, Dita, Mitchell, and Alan. And I think, as I said, and it's vital because we're talking years before anything material is accomplished to get Cavendish in any kind of working fashion. In the interim, people will continue to sit and be frustrated in traffic. Productivity will be compromised seriously, and there's security issues as well. Look, I sit on the board of Agence Santé, and our vehicles, as well as police and fire, our response time is certainly compromised because of this, not just on the routes leading out of Côte-Saint-Luc and Hampstead, but on the Carrie Service Road in particular. So I think as passionate as the three of you are, when I say the three of you, the elected officials are about getting Cavendish through, and that passion should continue, you really need to beat the drums to come up with solutions to the problem, which are far more short and medium term. And one of the key things that has to be addressed is the Jean Talon de Carrie.
But the solution, Mitch, just permit me, but the solution is with the city of Montreal.
Absolutely, but the pressure can come from
And
you.
we have written to them, the mayor has written to them. Go ahead, Mitchell.
So let's go through the three solutions that we have before us. The first one, fixing up Vizina. I know we've been working with Rick, and I want to congratulate you, Rick, for going to Montreal residents and speaking with them one by one and seeing if they would park in the de Carrie Square parking lot, which is something that I was able to negotiate that they can park there. But of course, they're not my residents. So you took the initiative and you got a lot of them to agree. So hopefully that will be enough for Montreal to do the right thing and have certain hours where there's no parking during rush hours so we can have better flow. The next issue that's short term is, and it affects not Côte-Saint-Lucers, Hampsteaders, or Saint Laurent people only. It affects everyone. Everyone knows. It's just terrible when you're going on de Carrie. You have to go down. You want to pass de Carrie and Jean Talon, and you're stuck. You're always stuck there. Wherever you're going, you want to go up north. You want to go north. It's just impossible. So your recommendations make a lot of sense, and they're not just for the benefit of Côte-Saint-Lucers. They're for the benefit of all Montrealers that use de Carrie. So somehow we need to push that agenda and make sure that those Montrealers who use de Carrie are aware of the recommendations for short-term change, and they buy into it, and they put pressure on the administration in Montreal. I mean, that's the only way you're going to get it. They're not going to listen to Côte-Saint-Lucers.
No,
so we need to have maybe a media plan.
But you are an important player. Look, there'll be a new mayor in town, Mount Royal, that's for certain, because Pierre's not running. But Alan, who is not only the mayor of Saint Laurent, but I expect will be on the executive committee of the city of Montreal. If don't shake your head, no. If Kader is elected, you're going to have a lot to say, and we're going to be counting on you to try and push through this agenda. We've got to listen. My experience with the fonctionnaire and engineers, and I've said this countless times, and I'm sorry, I apologize for being negative, but they have more ways to say no and more energy in saying no than in finding solutions to many things. So we need to push them as much as the city of Montreal, as Mitchell says properly, needs to push this agenda to make sure things get done in the short to midterm. Otherwise, as mushrooms continue to grow in condos, apartment buildings, and other projects, people will increasingly sit in traffic. It is currently over capacity, the road network. And now we're going to be adding thousands and thousands and thousands of more vehicles to this on a daily basis. I mean, you can only fit 5 pounds in a 5-pound paper bag. You can't fit 10.
Right, but I wanted to say that number 3. So in other words, my third thing. So number 1, Vizina.
Lawrence, you're next.
Number 2, de Carrie, and push Montreal residents to speak up and scream. We all want it. And number 3, which is a little longer, but a lot, I believe, can be faster than Cavendish, is the train stations and that's for Côte-Saint-Lucers. But we need to find a way for the ARTM to buy in sooner rather than later for train stations at Côte-Saint-Luc Shopping Center and de Carrie Square, because that is a rapid transit, shorter term solution to get us to the metro. So, I mean, those are the shorter things. Okay, sorry, I'm done.
Oh, thank you very much. No, this is, the essence of our conversation. We started in 2019. I want to mention this when we had a meeting of all the mayors, because the main question was crossing de Carrie. And it started with a meeting of all the mayors, and the mayor of Côte-Neige-NDG unfortunately told us, I really don't care about cars. I only care about bicycles. I mean, she told it to a whole room full of mayors and councillors. And we convened an entire meeting and said, okay, now guys, we got to get together. How are we going to cross de Carrie? And that was the response from Côte-Neige-NDG. So hopefully we will be able to get a better response this new mandate. Lawrence, you want to pose a question? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Lawrence Clement. I'm the one who has the photography studio on Côte Saint-Luc Road. I live on Rosedale. We live not far from Cavendish. It seems to me that all of these new plans are going to increase the amount of traffic, noise, and fumes from cars really a great deal. So what's going to be done to prevent the well, the quality of life of anybody that lives near Cavendish from really
Right.
going down?
Right. So I get that question every time I go door to door on Robinson and on Cavendish in particular. Clearly, they're concerned, the residents there are concerned. But, you know, as things progress, we have to find alternative solutions. We can't keep just doing the same thing over and over again. So alternatively is what we're proposing, is that we have a rapid transit mode, a mode of rapid transit running down Cavendish that's going to collect those residents who are presently using their cars, because if they can get to the metro faster, they might just hop on it. I used to take the 103 and the 161 and the 104 and the 130 regularly, and it takes too long to get to the metro. So we've got to find that way, whether it's a train station or the rapid bus down Cavendish, or so that's the first thing I think that needs to get done. But just not opening Cavendish is obviously not an option, because right now we are stuck on Van Horn, stuck on Queen Mary, stuck on Côte Saint-Luc Road, stuck on Vizina. So that's not an option either. You know, so these are the creative solutions that we're coming up with. So I think that, you know, obviously opening Cavendish is going to come with a whole new set of challenges, but we're going to have to meet those challenges in a new and creative way.
By the way, one of
Cars. It's not just going to be for cars. It's
Peter,
One of
could I
the-
jump in?
yes. Go ahead, please.
Just very quickly, Lawrence, I'm not obviously your mayor, but you have a mayor and a set of council who is very competent. But I would tend to think that in terms of the design, the configuration, and the components such as mass transit and other forms of transport that would be built in, those would provide reasonable alternatives to reduce the cars. But for me, if I was living in your town, one of the thoughts that I would have is that the whole notion of security. Actually, Côte Saint-Luc is not just bogged down in traffic congestion with it being hard to get out of it, but literally we saw what happened in 1987 when you had the floods. July 14th, 87. Well, when not too long ago, in the past year or thereabout, there was an ammonia leak. And I don't have to tell you that when something like that happens, you've got to have a way out. So just simply from a public security perspective, there's got to be something that is done. Now, can that not just address public security issues, but can also be finagled to deal with transportation issues while maintaining your quality of life? I think that is something that could happen and should be thought of, and that's why we're here today. But public security should be a critical thought as a Côte Saint-Lucer who resides there.
Yeah, no, Alan, I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, I had a note to say that, and I forgot to mention it. But when they had that gas leak less than a year ago, I mean, people were trapped. And you know, if you get a bad snow, there's only two ways out: Cavendish and Westminster, and that's it. You know, there is an emergency opening in the rail yard behind the Mount Sinai Hospital. But this is, you know, that clearly is an issue. And the other thing I should mention, which I always mention, is, you know, it's fair to say we all have a role to play. We talk about carpooling. We talk a lot about carpooling, but we don't walk the talk. So, you know, most of the cars I see have single occupants, no matter where I look. There are carpool lanes on Highway 20, which are underutilized. There are carpool lanes on the Laurentian route, which are underutilized. Quebecers love their cars, and Quebecers love to be, it seems, in their cars alone. So we're paying that price. So, you know, we can talk about the responsibility of all kinds of officials and all kinds of governments, but we have a role to play too. And carpooling is something that can be done tomorrow if the will is there.
You know, just say one last thing. It seems to me that we run the risk that Cavendish is going to become a shortcut for half the city to avoid DeCarry, and there'll be tremendous traffic and perhaps even a bottleneck because there's 3 lanes in Côte Saint-Luc on either side and of Cavendish, and there'll be only 2 going through the link.
That's a legitimate concern. I mean, that's always been a concern. And by the way, now I'm a Côte Saint-Luc resident as well. And I think that, as Deed explained, with the circuitous route that is planned to try to alleviate that, with a lot of vehicles being forced into an interchange at the Royal Mount western extremity, hopefully that'll alleviate some of that. But we need to do something, because it's just not working the way it is, that's for certain.
So thank you, Lawrence. It's definitely a challenge, but I think we're up for the challenge, and we're going to have to meet it. I have another question in the chat. Can you reiterate what is Montreal's rationale for their proposal of 1 lane on Cavendish in each direction? So just to be clear, the proposal that they put forward was 1 lane for the rapid transit in each direction and 1 lane of cars in each direction. So that's almost like 2 lanes, except though it would be a reserved rapid bus lane. Their rationale is that we've got to limit the number of cars. We have to limit the access. And by so limiting it, we would reduce the cars and not increase the cars. However, I only can share what we all know, which is you're sitting in traffic at Fleet and Pinedale in the morning, or you're sitting in traffic at Vizina and Décarie in the morning, you know that there are a lot of cars coming out of Côte Saint-Luc in the morning. And we're definitely going to ask that there be 2 lanes going north, because we want the cars to leave more easily and not get stuck in traffic. Now, if they, in the evening, obviously it's going to be a challenge to find the way, the rush hour coming home, to find a way to keep the trucks and the delivery trucks and all the taxis and everything off the road. But that's a challenge that we're going to work out at the Royal Mount Exchange. That's the way I see it. Are there any other questions? Because it's really 8:34 and the meeting was scheduled for an hour. I didn't want to keep anyone beyond their bedtime. So anyone?
Indeed, I'll thank you. I'll thank you very much, because I think this is a great exchange.
Right.
And a great initiative. And I do congratulate you and Mitchell and Alan for the work that you've done to date. And let's just keep the pressure on. Right.
So I agree with I hope that we can continue and work with the new administration in the City of Montreal when the time is right, and move this project forward in a positive way for everyone, including the residents of Côte Saint-Luc, who have serious concerns about the impact and the overflow of the traffic. Alan, do you want to say anything on this?
Well, I think I just want to.
Daniel, all we see is your fingers in the screen. Just saying, okay.
Adita, well, just all I was going to say was thank you for the invite. It's a pleasure to share it, and been a pleasure to work with Mitch, with yourself, and with my other colleagues, Philip Roy and whoever the new mayor is going to be in TMR, and as well if it's with Sue Montgomery or whoever the new mayor is going to be in Côte-des-Neiges. I do think there's 2 issues that should be put on the forward agenda of the next council, not just in Côte Saint-Luc, but in Montreal and through any other means you have. One is what Rick has brought forth in terms of a short-term to medium-term series of solutions. And that should be probably one of the items immediately on the agenda. And I guess the other piece, which is probably going to be important, is that if whichever administration is going to be depositing a dossier to the BAP as soon as spring 2022, it's going to be very important that we have access to the information and we can share that information with our residents such that we can upfront put in place a pre-consultative mechanism, a pre-consultative series of meetings with our residents such that we get their input, we answer their questions, we resolve issues, we factor in their concerns, such that at the next stage, which is the formal consultation meetings, which is the BAP, where people will then want to be heard, we can at least make sure as much as possible is done upfront. In doing so, we would minimize the chances, reduce the chances of hitting a wall when we hit the BAP hearings, because if people don't feel they've been listened to or their concerns are being reflected, well, they're going to mobilize to the BAP hearings, and God knows they may not have all the information, and it could be quite negative. So the only thing I would say is to you, to Mitch, to anyone else who's running and will be elected November 7th, is that we should think now ahead of the curve and putting forward the public consultation mechanisms in our communities to allow us to prepare for whatever is going to be put on the spring agenda to the BAP.
Well, I would reiterate that. I think I would.
It's what you call building up the social.
Absolutely.
The
And this-
social
acceptability.
acceptability of the
Right,
program.
but there's an added feature to that, which is that the BAP, as soon as you do file at the BAP, automatically there's an obligation on everyone who's filing at the BAP, and we would be part of that, I hope, to consult. And that's why there is almost a year of hearings. There's 3 months, and then there's another 3 months. So there's going to be a lot of consultation, definitely. And we're going to, in the city of Côte Saint-Luc, we're most definitely going to do it. The scenarios that I showed you tonight, these are hot off the press, right? I mean, these were designed in September because of the lack of consensus. So I think that we definitely will move this forward with consultation and with the participation of the Côte Saint-Luc residents, and not just District 3, but all the residents along the Cavendish corridor, which definitely have a lot to say about it, and will have a lot to say about it, because it's going to affect them the most, especially during the construction phase. So all of that, thank you very much, Mitchell. I appreciate you all participating, and I hope that we can do this again next week. I'm going to be talking about Smart City and basically the Living Lab project. It's a project that is going to help senior residents live at home safely and securely. We have obtained $1 million grant based on our Smart City proposal, which I also always have handy here next to me. And that is going to be a very interesting discussion, because we all want to be able to age at home safely and securely. And the city of Montreal, the city of Côte Saint-Luc, I was going to say the city of Montreal got the $10 million or $50 million prize. We wanted the $10 million prize, but we got $1 million grant, and we're going to be working on that over the coming months. So stay tuned next week, and thank you, everyone, and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay.